it great?
It's great.
Awesome. Hey, welcome back. We're talking about the age-old battle that's been happening ever since business really came to the business world. It's like sort of the small versus the large, the David and Goliath thing, and how it affects not just like all of us in that play, but affects you and the cats out there buying and trading and selling guitars.
The customer, the consumer, if you will.
Or as these giant corporations like to call them, the end user, which is a really weird term. And it's when you start talking about guitars and SKUs, and you have spreadsheets, end users. It's like, it sounds like a very final destination.
Yeah.
End user.
The end user.
I've never liked, that's just a weird term to me. But anyway, so thanks for joining us. Click like, subscribe.
Don't forget the bell. It's very important to end users.
It's that made me happy.
Sorry.
I was thinking about Tron when you said that. The original, the great one.
The great one.
With Jeff
Before
Bridges.
we ruined it, yeah.
Also the sequel with Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
And there's like is there a third one too?
I don't know.
I just stopped. The first one's not that great either, but it's still fun. It still looks amazing.
It's one of those movies that could just come on Sunday, so you'd watch it. Like TBS, you know?
Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah. And you watch it over and over. Like, why
Forrest
are you
Gump.
playing this movie? But they
It's always on. So there's been lots happening with all the guitar businesses lately. Guitar Center and Sweetwater, like both private equity. Thomann over there is one of the big cats in the European sea. So they sort of are the lion's share of all of the major guitar manufacturers' orders.
Which is sort of crazy when you think about it. If you're like me, you probably, just think about that there are basically three companies.
That control the way things...
Everything, yeah.
Yeah, they're about 25%, like, each, of... Well, GC's like 25% of Fender's orders or Gibson's orders, and then you put in like, another probably 15 for Sweetwater maybe, and then you got another 10 or so for Thomann. So you got a huge spread of these manufacturers are delivering to these three major markets.
Yeah.
Three major resellers, as they're called in the industry, for all the end users. I'm just gonna use all the words are so weird and absurd. I remember like having to go to our first like corporate meetings and like hearing like people that work with the manufacturers speak this way. I didn't know what they were talking about. I honestly
jargon.
No, I know. But I acted like I did. I was like,
yeah,
because everybody else was talking that way, and it's like when you go like to math class.
Fascinating.
I'm like, yes, totally understood geometry. Got that, nailed it. I have no idea what a triangle is.
What's even like when you're a starting out musician, you get in like your first band, and maybe there's some older dudes, and they like talk about things or like be on the road or like gig stuff, and you're like, yeah, bro. Yeah, exactly. But you don't know.
What do you mean you poop in a bag? It's happened.
Why would we save our empty bottles? What are we going to do? Yeah.
So what's happened recently? There's been some like major sort of disruptions in the markets.
Right.
Because a lot of these majors, they've been like the major, like, let's talk about the major buyers, like the GC, Sweetwaters, and Thomann. They've been like, give us guitars, give us product. Product is the other like sort of red flag term when I hear people saying product all the time. Like, ugh, give us more product. And we want it, we eat it, consume it. It was very like Pink Floydian, like just consuming, like, all right, not like they do, but they're people they write about.
It's true.
And then all of a sudden they're like, stop, we don't want anything else.
Just kidding.
All the stuff we told you we don't want it anymore. Then the company's like, but we're building it right now. It's coming.
It's built. It's done.
It's ready.
So,
it's shipping.
It's
ready. It's in a storage container on its way in a boat.
We don't want it.
So we don't want it, and they don't have to buy it.
Which is almost wild to me, by the way, that you can order. That they have that freedom from these huge guitar companies.
They get because they own.
No.
Well, I mean, we've gotten into some of these manufacturers even allow certain companies to completely copy their guitars because they can't stop them.
Right.
Because they're a major purchaser of their product.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a whole other story. But no, so the major buyers are just like, we don't want them. You take them back. And
deal with it.
Oh, okay. So then all of a sudden, these tens of thousands of guitars that are coming are now going back into warehouses and storage sheds, and then the manufacturers have to go, what do we do? And so then they could have approached the indies and be like, hey, we're going to offer you this stuff at like breakneck prices so you can offer your customers, but they're like, no, we're freaking out. We got to sell stuff now. We're going to fire people first, maybe. And then that's one step. And then now they offer massive, maybe they create their own online stores and their own like reverb setups.
Yep.
So, and then all these manufacturers are starting to do it. It's it's a dangerous syndrome. We'll get into that in a little bit. And we're all about the best deal possible, but there's a cost to that too.
It's true.
Because, well, that we've seen with the Squire line right now.
Yeah.
So just in particular with some of the lower end pieces and across some other manufacturers too, but they had a huge Labor Day sale where they got to clear the decks because they've got warehouses filled. They got to move them. They got burned by these major buyers, these major shops that said, we want this, give it to us. And then they changed their mind, we don't want it. And so they got to get rid of it. And so they're dumping it, but that directly, it's a great time to get it. If you need one, get one now. We thought about buying some ourselves because we cannot get them for this price. Not even close to it. This is like insane. So it's like, just get it if you need one. The sale's over now. But
but it was great if you needed one.
But then if you have one already,
Less good.
Well, because then you can't resell it now anywhere near what you paid for it. You just pretty much get your guitar has been, 75% of its value has been just castrated and cut off immediately. That's one of the catches there. It's also sort of inversely, they're gonna have to generate more money.
Right.
So they're looking at the other product lines that are maybe like above this sort of complete low entry level that normally sort of fit in this mid-range to lower end tier is now we're seeing prices outpacing American built pieces.
That's what's wild to me. That sort of blows my mind a little bit, but
Like I never thought I would see they're doing it in limited numbers. These are like sort of finite things a lot of these manufacturers, but like there's a lot of pieces built in the Mexican factories that are now outpacing the sort of standards of these manufacturers.
And it's one thing when they outpace maybe like the lower American lines, you know what I mean? Like back when we had like American Performers, stuff like that. That's one thing. But when you're talking about your sort of staple
Bread and butter,
that's a little concerning. Even in the lower numbers, even in the limited numbers, when we see those things, it always bleeds over into production, right? Like it's usually a sort of a herald of the things to come.
And it's tricky. It's like we've talked to a bunch of our other independent shop friends out there, and that's obviously what we love. We love the indies. That's who we work with. I love those guys. They're fighting the good fight. Again, use the David Goliath thing. I've always liked that. When I watch movies, I'm like, yeah, go. We all do that. We're suckers for that. But I've talked to all them. A lot of them are incensed by what's happening right now and furious. For the human cost of people getting laid off in these different manufacturers, the sales directly castrating their ability to sell product that they're sitting on pallets worth. Which a pallet of guitars is a lot of guitars.
Yeah.
We're in a fortunate position where it doesn't really affect our business that much. We don't really work in that. We have a bunch of those lower things, but we don't. It's not our bread and butter. That's not what we do. But it doesn't mean we're not going to talk about it because I feel passionately about it as well. And all these independent shops, like they came to us and they've all called us. It's been dozens of them. Like, what do we do? Can you call someone for us and be like, let these people know in these higher tiers that we don't like what's just happened. We hate it. Like we're furious about it. Like I'll do everything I can. The best we can do is talk here.
Yeah.
I don't have the CEO's phone numbers on speed dial for a lot of, or they don't want to hear from us either because they don't hear complaints normally.
No.
But sometimes they do. And they're really good. This is a trick where you can actually make a big difference by shopping with these indies. And I'm not saying with us. I'm saying with any of them. You communicate directly to these manufacturers what you like and if you disagree with the practices by shopping with the independents who stand against some of that as well.
Yeah.
It's a vital step in doing that, and it really matters. They listen. A lot of people though, why do you shop at the biggest resellers usually? There's it's a big F word.
Financing.
It's awesome. It's an awesome way to get a guitar for pretty much free, like you're paying on the month, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, instead of having the lump sum, you buy it and you pay $20 a month for 18,000 a year.
The financing departments are working really hard to try to keep everything smooth. Interest rates are raising. Things are changing there, so just be careful. Like read the fine print on it right now because it's one of those things that with certain financing groups, if you miss one payment, the entire thing balloons.
Yeah, make sure you pay it off in that interest-free period, because it all usually, you get hit with all the interest, not just the interest going forward, right? It goes back to day one, but yeah.
And it's a neat thing because we often hear too, like from cats around all over the country, just normal Joes like you and I, like you're not Joe, you're Jonathan. Normal Johns like you and I.
Normal old Johns.
No, but like,
Jays.
man, like, well, I'd shop at my indie if there was one. It's like, well, there's not any because of the practices that have happened. And
Right.
like, it's the same reasons like even like the great indie shop that's now in Nashville, the North American Guitar or whatever, that was in London.
Yeah.
They moved because like everyone loved that shop and everyone like bemoaned like, why'd they leave? Because no one bought guitars there. They would go and play guitars for 4 hours, but no one bought any, and then you have to actually support the shops that you want to stay around.
That's true. I mean, I think sort of the silver lining, the good news in that regard is that there are people across the country that I feel like we're their like neighborhood guitar shop. You know what I mean?
You can have that with so many other shops.
You can. The world's so small now with being able to call and get on Zoom or the internet.
I mean, I've literally talked to someone in almost every continent this week. And that one cat that we're working on your guitar in Africa, like, thanks for your service again. I love it. You're keeping us safe from the mean folks out there. But no, it's just fun. Like the fact I get to talk to like cool jokers all over this world, and it's exciting. Like there's so many great shops that do this. I was talking to my friend Paul up at Music Villa. We share a lot of the same folks that bought guitars from us, bought guitars from him. Wildwood Guitars all the time. We love Sims down in South Carolina. If you haven't been down there, again, if you want to get a great guitar and see some proper salsa dancing, Chuck Levins. You just ask for Carlos.
Watch out for the pistols.
It's the Pearl Andrew pistol. Not Ivory, mind you. It was Pearl. He's not General Patton.
No.
It's very particular there. But it's been a crazy sort of like cycle. This most recent like economic thing, because like guitars are still flying out. Like people are still consuming guitars. And it's wonderful, and like we love it. We just want to make sure like we communicate to all of our manufacturers that we appreciate what everybody does, but we appreciate having reps that really work with us too sometimes within this business to help us. Because something I was pointing out earlier is like the cats that somebody's like, I'm gonna give a big thumbs up to like Donnie Rod and Aaron Dablow at Taylor, Chris Bacon over at Martin Guitars for really like being like, hey, let's control what you guys have coming in because you have a ton on order because we all did. And let's make sure we have our manufacturing lined up right too so we don't overbuild on guitars you don't want.
And I mean, they could have been very short-sighted on that. Said, hey, take all these guitars, order more guitars. Sure you don't need more guitars?
That's what they do.
But I mean, being able to go and say, hey guys, we want to work with you to make sure this thing all stays in balance and that this is the long game.
So we don't have to fire a lot of people in our factories too, or we don't have to like be stuck with product. Like those companies in particular really had foresight. Yeah. Like, and I'm hats off to both. Chris Bacon called early. Donnie Rod's always been an Uber like MVP rep. Like it was just neat. The two acoustic brands were really the majors of the acoustics were like they're on top. Well, because it's not just sell. There's inventory. There's making sure you have the right build slots at these factories. Making sure the right people are there, because if they can't build, if they don't need to build any more guitars, they gotta fire people, and it stinks. Yeah. None of us like seeing that.
And obviously, they don't want to end up with a warehouse full of guitars that were on order and now nobody wants. So
no, because again, so that's where like making your buying choices, it does matter, and like buy from indies wherever they may be. If it's in Europe, if it's at Anderton's, Peach, any of the shops I mentioned here in the U.S. of the A. Yep. Any of the cool little European shops. There's this great one in Barcelona that I saw once. I can't remember the name of it. It was so cool. But if you are in the UK, stop by Anderton's. Those guys that you watch their YouTube channel, they're wonderful. They will help you with guitars. Not Danish Pete. He doesn't know what he's talking about most of the time. He just wanders around like combing his hair and he's clueless. Just kidding. No, he is really pretty though.
He's a very attractive man.
No, but the captain, that guy, he's in there just chilling out. He'll hang out with you. He'll help you with a guitar. He'll help you with a Squire. He'll help you with a custom shop. He'll help you with an SC to a private stock. It's wonderful. And he'll just, even if you don't want to buy a guitar, just hang out.
I've never heard anything but amazing things about customer interactions with those guys.
And John and Jack over at Peach, like those guys know their guitars inside and out. Jack's such a good guitar player. Yes. I mean, I can still beat him in an arm wrestling competition, but that's just because I'm a master at the technique.
Over the top.
I don't think Jack hasn't seen Over the Top. No. Probably. No. That's like that and Roadhouse. Like, you're not really an American until you've watched those two movies. And
Best
Red
kept
Dawn.
secrets. America.
Just means chill. That is pretty much America, like Over the Top, Roadhouse, and Red Dawn.
You just got to remember when that hat goes backwards.
It's like you're turning the engine
Things
on.
are on.
Well, I'm turning the hat. And I saw Sylvester Stallone was like beefing with like Arnold Schwarzenegger on something. Like
now?
Like online like the other day. Like I was like, why is he on TikTok beefing with Arnold Schwarzenegger? It didn't make any. Hopefully it was just a joke. I have been enthralled with the whole Chris Pine and the Shia LaBeouf and the Harry Styles and the Olivia Wilde movie, all the drama happening with that. I don't know why I find it so fascinating. If you do as well, let me know, because I think it's hilarious and completely absurd that I care. Two craps. And then I just found out they modeled off Chris Pine's evil characters modeled after Jordan Peterson, which I think is hilarious as well.
Oh yeah, I did see that, but I didn't really understand because I don't know.
The drama behind the scenes is what's so funny. I've been like really digging into like these movies and like the Divergent series. I started watching that again just because I wanted to see it because I forgot how it's terrible, by the way. But it's a young adult fiction book from like 2015 period, I think, following on the heels of Twilight, Hunger Games, and all Harry Potter's and all the huge blockbusters. And this was like, and then it got so bad, like they did the third movie and there's supposed to be a fourth one. Like, well, we're going to go straight to TV. Ooh. This is before that was cool, before Netflix had made that a cool thing. Mm. And then all the actors were like, we're not going to be in it.
Yeah, no.
And then so they just never made the finale, which sucks. You've got 3 movies in, multi-$100 million movies. Then we're just not going to finish it.
Dang. I guess you could, slum it and read the book.
So if you want to see Jonathan and I redo, we'll do like a podcast version of the final book.
Oh, that'd be great. Voices, no. Shadow puppets, no.
I don't even know why. This is just a fascination. We're done in the video at this point. We're just talking trash.
I mean, think how old. I mean, Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger, they're up there.
Collectively, they're like 185 years old.
I mean, what if they had so much beef and then they had like a Rocky style, like Stallone? I mean, obviously
Stallone would murder him though. I mean, from the boxing training,
I just would like to see it. Wouldn't it be amazing? Because he's so much bigger than Stallone. I mean, Stallone's jacked, but he's not very super tall.
I love them both. I love Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. I love Sylvester Stallone movies. I think any beefs are ridiculous. But the thing that most people don't get about Sylvester Stallone though is he writes and directs.
Right.
And he's smart. Like I'm sure Arnold Schwarzenegger is governor, very smart too. But
maybe
you don't get that.
I don't know.
No, but you don't get that when you watch like Rocky. You're like, oh, hey, Adrian. You're thinking, oh, this guy, that dude, he's acting.
Have you seen the meme? It's like all the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies in the '90s. He's like super huge and jacked with an Austrian accent, but he's like from Iowa, and everybody like no one questions.
No,
like oh yeah,
I have to see that.
Like Kindergarten Cop. That great masterpiece of American cinema.
I loved it when it came out.
It's not a tumor. That was a great one.
Not the tumor. Red Heat. The Twins one with Danny DeVito. Really.
Yeah, God. Amazing.
Don't get me wrong, Sly had some duds too, like the musical he did, the Broadway musical gangster one. That's a tricky one. But
when we went to Nashville, Derek changed his Waze voice to Arnold Schwarzenegger.
You can do that?
Yeah.
Turn left now, you man child.
He's like, exit now if you want to live.
He really does that?
Yeah. It was amazing. It got really old after about 10 minutes.
So whenever you doubted, like we live in the golden age or something, we do.
We do. We absolutely do.
Thanks for watching again. Do good things out there with your spending money and keep playing guitar. Like we love it. We're excited to see where this all goes.
See you next time.